2018 Canadian Indoor Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, joined by
David Gerard.
David Gerard. And in our feature match here in front of us, we have Betty Van Wallingham from Manitoba against Pauline Wong from Alberta. Pauline has the multicolored bowl. I guess that's pink and purple from the looks of things, whereas Betty has the red ones with yellow decals.
And Betty has the yellow shirt.
Yes, that's one.
Pauline has the blue and pink shirt. Sorry, I couldn't help resist it. Yeah, and here we are. They are. I believe it's the first set, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly adjust that to say set 1 instead of set 2. So it's 5-2 for Pauline as we're hopping into this set.
Yeah. Last shot, Betty. On a backhand, it looks a little bit heavy from here, but.
Yep, that is sailing wide and around. But it looks like she was already lying 2, maybe 3 anyway. That's a. I wonder what she was doing with that bowl. Last bowl, it's not like you had to worry about coverage or anything.
No.
Interesting decision, but.
It's almost like she was afraid of disturbing something.
There you can see 2 bowls cleared already by Pauline, and I think they'll put a tape to it for the third one. If she does get 3, that would tie things up at 5.
Level the score. And on rink 4, we've got a. Oh, they're just taking a look here right now. It's between John Bjornson and the other gentleman.
Michael Riley from Alberta.
Riley, yeah. John is a former champion, indoor champion. I believe it was 2 years ago. 2 or 3.
I want to say at least 3.
Yeah.
I know that he's played Horan in the final at least 2 times anyway.
Yeah. So he's one of the prime competitors here, and well, they are all good bowlers, obviously. But there's their John's ahead one set to nothing, and he's got a 5-0 lead after 3 ends. So the ball's in his court right now.
And the rink in front of us here, Betty did just only get 2 there to make it 5-4. After 3 rounds of play, looks like Betty is 1-2, whereas Pauline is 0-3. This is their 4th round that the women are playing.
Yeah. There's 12 competitors on the men's side and 10 on the women's side. So that sort of there's sometimes a discrepancy on how many rounds they've played within however many days. But
yeah, it can be a little bit confusing there. Betty's coming up a little bit short and narrow on her first. And as always, if you want to get in touch with us, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at BCB Bowls. Be happy to hear from you.
I haven't really taken a close look, but I've bowled both left and right-handed, so I kind of twig on that kind of thing, and I don't know how I don't think there's very many left-hand. I know Charlie's a left-handed bowler.
Are you saying you've bowled against left and right-handed players, or you?
I bowl left and right. Yeah.
So you're ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not very good at either. But yeah, but that's why I kind of pick up on it. I see who's left-handed and how they're doing on it. But I think there could be more than Charlie, but Charlie's the only one I know for sure.
Yeah, I do find it interesting when you play against an opposite-handed person just because they take a different line than you do. And it's also interesting playing at the indoor here at PIBC. You're never going to see lines in the green from where your bowl has traveled. I know almost every outdoor green I've played on in Canada, at least that I've been to, whenever you roll a bowl, you'll see sort of the track that it goes down because the grass is bent or there's dew or whatever.
Right.
But here you're not going to find that.
No, it's it's quite different. So everyone's got their different way of bowling. I always take an aim point on the bank, and do so here too. But sometimes you can get difficult when you're on the ditch, one between the two, or when you're on the outside ones. other people like about 4 meters in front of them on the green.
Yep, just right in front of them. Yep.
Yeah, but you can't really do that here because there's really nothing to go by. I mean, you could look at the bank and then look down, but you
Yeah.
don't really have a point to focus on.
Well, a lot of people do tend to visualize where their line is and then just sort of follow that line back, and then they'll see the point
Right.
sort of in their mind where it's just sort of an imaginary line. So yeah, there's nothing like no
Nothing concrete.
leaf or twig that you can stare at, but
Yeah. Betty just delivered her final ball on that end, and it looks like she might be up 4. And Pauline and Betty are both coming down to take a look.
bear with me as I'm trying to figure out some technical difficulties.
So Pauline's had a look at the heads walking back.
Bit of a echo. I'm curious if I can get rid of that.
On ring 6, Richards just delivered a bowl. Richards fallen behind on the second set. 5-6 after 8 ends, so it could go to a tie break.
Looks like Betty's picked up another 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
As they're kicking them in with no indication.
Patrick's just delivered on 6, and really not sure. Can't even see the jack there. I'm not 100% sure where it is.
Yeah, so from the camera angle that you can see in front of us here, the rink to the right of us is Patrick Cote from Ontario versus Richard Yao from BC, and then the rink to the left is John Bjornsson from Manitoba against Mike O'Reilly from Alberta.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm so used to being here that I just call the rink number instead of and assume that everyone knows. Okay. Betty's just delivered a forehand. First bowl. It's looking pretty close.
So that was a perfect 4 last end there for Betty. She's now up 8-5 over Pauline, and she's taken the lead there.
Let's see. See what Richard's doing here on the rink to the right, which is 6. Oh, got a little unlucky there.
Looks like Pauline is just a little wide and heavy there. I don't think it's going to come back in time. Just around the back.
I think Pat, is it Patrick? Yeah. I don't know. I think he might declare here. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the safe way. Because all he needed was that 1 point. So now it's into a tie break.
Betty's rolled another nice bowl there. So Betty's actually been traveling around a fair bit. She was chair of the host organizing committee for the youth championships. So I was bombarding her with emails all summer long. And then she competed in the majors out in Regina, which was, I think, 3 days after the youth finished. So she was out in Regina and then had about a 3 or 4 week break before traveling down to California. She played at the North American Challenge, which is a test match of Canada versus USA that happens every other year. So she's been traveling around quite a bit. Only been home for probably 3-4 days before back out here for the indoor singles. So
She must like the sport.
I was gonna say it's been a very busy summer for her, I'm sure. I was talking to Greg Wilson, who just walked behind us. He also was at the NAC, and he flew home through Vancouver and thought about just staying here because he was home for 1 day before coming right back here.
Right.
So not much downtime between events, but when you like to bowl, you bowl whenever and wherever you can.
And Greg may be the only member of the senior team that's here, I believe. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that does sound about right. Yeah, looking around, I think you're right on that.
So he's definitely, because of that, he's definitely that much busier. So it's good to have a representative
Absolutely.
from there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is, I guess, a bit of an, in some ways, it's a national tournament. You know, you can't take that away from it. It's just because of the that it's indoor, and this is the only facility in the country that makes things a little different.
Different is a good word.
Let me put it this way: I'm glad I'm from here.
That's fair. That's fair. It does take a lot of practice to get used to playing on the indoor here. As some of the players here I've spoken to already have said, yeah, I just wasn't ready for that first round because weight adjustment just takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, well, Kerry Lucier, he mentioned that he was bowling. I think it was at a casino or something, and you know there's areas of it where they're not really using it, so he's been bowling on the carpet there. So I'm thinking, oh, that's good, you know.
Wherever,
really
and
keen,
whenever
yeah.
you can. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking last game about some of the bowlers here head over to Hong Kong, and so I actually got to play in Hong Kong with Greg many years ago. And when we were in the airport flying back, they had carpeted areas, so Greg had his bowls as a carry-on, so we pulled them out and played to a little stress ball. And the amount of looks from people who were just walking by would stop and watch us. It was, I thought, pretty good publicity for the sport to have people just stop and take a look. But
yeah.
so it's 8-6.
Yeah,
After 7, playing number 8 here. So we're getting down to the crunch time of this end of this first set.
Yeah, sets are playing sets are outdoor was this year was nationals was 21, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was 21 points, and this is sets. So depending on what you like, you can play in points or sets. Take your pick. I'm a points fan myself.
Yeah, well, I'd never played points until we had our provincial outdoor singles, and I it was points. And that was the first time ever.
Really?
Yeah.
First
For me,
time?
it's been sets all the time because
Wow.
I'm not that, you know, I'm in some ways a new bowler, especially in the competitive side of it. But yeah, so it was a totally different thing.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Just different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's quite straightforward, but I think you can have two different games in a game, like
Yep.
two different halves or two
Yep.
different games.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with sets. You can win your first set, lose your second, and then go into the tie break. The thing that I found difficult with sets, and I would forget, is that if you lose your first set, especially when it's tight and you lose it by 1 point or something like that, first of all, if you have the mat in the last end, you don't get it in the next set. Whoever won the set
Yep.
gets the mat.
Yep.
Not only that, but you have to win. You can't tie the second set if you lose it. Yeah, you have to win it. Yeah, so it really it can make it difficult, but yeah, it's fun in some ways.
It definitely changes your strategy, I find, because when you're getting into end number 8 and number 9 of the first set, you're looking to win the set, but if you can't mathematically win, I guess, or if you need to get a 4 and it's
Mhm.
the ninth end of the first set, you're now playing totally different shots than if it was
Yeah.
the ninth set or ninth end of a points
But
match. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So-
You tend to. And the only thing I mean, and especially if you're getting pounded
Mhm.
in set play, but because one of the tiebreakers is the points plus minus or whatever
Mhm.
for against.
Yep.
You can't quit that set and start the next one. You have to.
You have to keep struggling it out. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, Betty's. I'm not sure how this shapes up right now. I think she's.
Flying 2 from the looks of things.
Oh, I don't know. You get a better view from there?
No, this camera angle doesn't show anything better than what you'd see on front of you here, but it looks like Betty's picked up shot for sure with that one.
Yeah.
And that was the last bowl too, so that's a pretty good way to finish.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pauline just wanted to say 1.
Mm-hmm. I think
which
so.
is interesting. From
Yeah. It's kind of one of those angles where you know that the side one is usually closer than the other one. Oh, there's one of the outdoor commentators, Charlie Taylor, behind us heckling.
That's right. If you have any heckles for Charlie, feel free to send them my way. So it was just the 1 there for Betty to make it 9-6 as we're heading into the last end of this first set.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on 4 because once they're done there,
You'll
I'll
on
be there.
more. That's right. So if you have any questions for David, get them in now before he takes off. Do you use a different set of bowls when you compete at the PIBC versus an outdoor rink?
I've gone through the whole gamut of that. Actually, sometimes I mix it up both ways. But usually I have Tigers. Henselite bowls is what I've got. Other than I just bought a new set of bowls, but Henselite Tigers and Henselite Dreamline XGs.
Okay.
So I whatever tournament I go in, I always register both sets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which seems kind of crazy, but that's what I do. And Dreamline, there's really a jury out on that, I think. And the Dreamlines, they take a nice line, but they're a really difficult bowl to handle. If you don't deliver them perfectly, they're not going to take the line. They usually run straight,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a straight bowl to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do that, then they run long too. So it's like you feel like it's really hard to get that. And then the Tigers. I don't know if anyone here is using Tigers, but the Tigers, you have to be really careful on the ditch side because you have to run them so wide, right?
Right. So if you're playing on an outside rink, you got to be careful you're not in the ditch on the outside rink.
Yeah, and so that's kind of funny. That one thing that I met, you know, I'll probably get the name wrong. There's a Dawes that won the indoor world championship in England last year, I think, last winter. And his brother was here.
Hmm.
And he was practicing, and he would bowl. Sorry.
We have the legendary Vince Mai sitting next to me here, telling me about how in a tiebreak he dropped a 4, picked up a 4, and picked up a 4 to win 8-4 in a 3-end tiebreak, which is very high scoring affair.
Yeah, it is. It was this guy was bowling. He was bowling on this the one to the right on ring 6, and he was bowling 2 or 3 sets of bowls, and everything was within 3 feet of the jack.
Mm-hmm.
Just came in off the street, not So after a while, I asked him. I said, "You're a pretty good bowler, you know. Sort of where did you learn to bowl like that?" And he's from the UK. And he says, "My brother's a lot better than I am." And I said, "Well, what's your brother's name?" And he said, "I believe it's Nick Dawes or whoever." And his brother won the World Indoor Championship. Had just won it, right? And so it was interesting to meet this guy. And he said that most of those guys use Tigers indoor. They use the wide drawing bowls.
Hmm.
So I guess it works well for them and stuff like that. And if you can win a world championship with them, I guess it's a good thing.
Clearly, it must be okay.
Yeah.
Looks like Pauline's throwing some weight here, just
Yeah.
a little bit up and through.
Just chipped it, but I think that's her bowl, but I don't know how close her bowl is there.
I think that should be good for one.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. But, oh, can we see it better here?
Yeah, you can just see the jack in front of her bowl there, but
Yeah.
distance-wise, it's hard to tell how close. The fact that she's holding the mat and giving it to Betty makes her think that it wasn't quite close enough.
Patrick must have won the tiebreaker there, eh?
So I think that was one for Betty there, as she's...
Did you catch who was it Patrick?
Yeah, on the rink next door, Patrick did win in the tiebreak there, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are off to set number 2 here with Betty having taken
Set one.
set 1.
Yeah, John's well ahead on home. They mustn't have put a score up there because
Well, it was the end of
Mike.
the first set there, but
No,
oh, okay, I see what you're saying on the rink to the rink to the left there
yeah,
between John
yeah.
and Mike. Yeah,
because Mike threw the jack. So
yep. So John Bjornsson won that first set and is up this set 8 to at least 1. Could be more depending on how many Mike scored that last end. So Betty's first bowl was well through the head here, and Pauline's first is looking to be pretty close. That's
Yeah.
a pretty good opening bowl there, just a mat length behind the jack. That's
Yeah.
almost a perfect opening bowl. That's
Yeah.
one of the drills that our national team coach worked with some of our athletes during some training camps, is to make sure you're past the jack. And when he was commentating with me at the majors in Regina, that was one of the comments we heard right away, was that there's too many short bowls. You got to make sure you're at least reaching to give yourself a chance.
yeah. I've done a exercise. I don't like the term drill because it sounds
Yeah, nobody likes drills, right?
where you get totally punished for short bowls. You just
Mhm.
when you're keeping score, so you have to have them
Mhm.
jack high or better. That's always a good thing.
One of the terms that he used that I'm now going to quote him all the time is the efficiency area, which is about a triangle that's behind the jack and measures about a mat length past. And I guess statistically speaking, that's one of the most efficient areas to be if you're going to be rolling your bowls.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
He quoted some sort of a study that Bowls England did, where if 10% or more of their bowls were short, they lost like 90% of the games or something like
Wow.
that, which is just a staggering number. I can't remember what those numbers were. I'm probably way off, but it was something astounding like that, where if you have short bowls, you're more than likely going to lose.
Yeah. And as the caliber of the bowling goes up, that becomes
Mhm.
sort of more true, yeah. Yep. Pauline seems to
She's found the line for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
All 3 of hers are coming right back to that center line, so now it's just a matter of getting the weight down, and sometimes that can be the trickiest thing when you're playing on a faster surface, is to be able to slow things down and get that weight perfectly, because any weight adjustment has to be that much more precise, more perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of the big challenges. You see, both of them have got the line really good too.
Mm-hmm. They're both going to come down and take a look here. Not that. Should be one bowl left here for Pauline, actually. Betty's all out of bullets.
Yeah. This way Betty doesn't have to walk down here later.
So with Pauline's last bowl here, I would think she's probably just going to draw, but there is potential for her to try to push Betty through and sit for 3. Play some weight through the middle there. It's a bit more of a riskier shot. I think she's probably more just inclined to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Given that this is the first end of the second set, no score right now, you don't need to be playing overly aggressive at this.
No. Still in the +1, -1 sort of.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of how I look at it, right? You don't want to give away more than 1 point if possible, but
yeah, especially to start the set, you don't want to be down in a hole of multiples.
yeah.
I think she's tight.
Yeah, I think so too. Light and tight, or just tight?
I think just tight. Her weight's, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
not too bad. Just tight.
John's coming in with his last bowl in the 6th end of the second set. Oh, yeah. Oh, just missed it. Just missed it.
And so that is another one to Betty, based on how Pauline just handed her the mat. So Betty is continuing her run here.
Yeah.
Big thanks to our sponsors and partners, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, and Kukri, our official clothing supplier.
All right.
I think almost every province here is actually using Kukri as their clothing supplier now that I look around and look at it.
Yeah, they probably are. Our club uses Kukri.
Uses Kukri as well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they were the clothing supplier for the Commonwealth Games, so for every sport at the Commonwealth Games this past April, all of Team Canada was fit in Kukri gear.
Were you over there for that?
Oh, I wish. I wish. No, that was down in Gold Coast in Australia, so we sent our team of 5 men, 5 women, as well as a...
Oh, but I mean, even as a watching sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, as a spectator. Now, unfortunately, I was back in the office trying to promote, which we actually did a pretty good job of. I think we had over 40 newspapers across Canada picking up on bowls, and in some provinces it was even the front page, so it was actually really good to see bowls was getting a fair bit of coverage just from how well our team did down there.
Yeah.
Out of 8 disciplines, I think 6 of them made it to the top 4, so I mean that's a first ever for us, which was a really good showing. It put us on the map, and other countries took notice, which was really good. So
yeah, and I stayed up and watched Ryan's
final
gold medal game.
Yeah, that was a 3 a.m.
I felt so
blaster.
bad for him. But then I didn't even pay attention to what was after that. Was it the Australian Open or something that he won? Or
Yeah, it was the Aussie Open that he won. Yeah,
yeah. So
he got his revenge.
yeah, and he was against Aaron something or other.
Aaron Wilson.
Wilson, yeah.
Yeah.
In
In
Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's quick to say that the Australian Open is that much more difficult just because there's 1,000 bowlers, so to be the best out of 1,000 is one thing, but for the Commonwealth Games there's only 30 countries or whatever there is, so you're only playing against 30 other people instead of 1,000. But I would argue that Commonwealth Games has pretty high caliber too, because it's usually some of the best players from their country, whereas the Australian Open is anybody and everybody can show up. So
Right,
there might be
yeah.
1,000, but I wouldn't say they're 1,000 quality players there.
but in some ways, it just by the actual number of people, it makes it difficult.
Absolutely.
You have
Absolutely.
one bad game and
Mhm.
you're out.
Your goose is cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see Ryan win the Australian Open, just because he's had some interesting luck with the major games over the past few years in the Commonwealth Games singles.
Yeah.
This year he got silver, but then at World Bowls in 2016 in the singles he got silver. In
Yeah.
2014 Commonwealth Games singles he got silver. In 2012 World Bowls singles he got silver. So he's been
Yeah.
getting super close and just not quite
Getting it there.
getting there. But that's probably a record for international major games events to have that many back-to-back silvers.
Yeah. 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 I've never met him. I met one of his uncles was bowling here a few years ago.
Ken was out here a few years ago.
Yeah.
Ken Bester, yeah. I had the joy of growing up 15 minutes down the road from the Bester clan. So growing up, I always had to play them to try to get to our provincials, and
Yeah.
learned very quickly how good they were and how not good I was.
Yeah. Ken was a great guy.
Mhm.
I don't know how well he did in the tournament himself, but he's a really good guy. Really good guy.
Yeah, I think I could say that about all of the Besters, is that they're great folks,
Yeah.
good family.
So, well, we've got Linda and Jenny Sue on rink 6, which is the one to the right.
To the left from this camera angle, it's to the right of us, but from this camera right now, angled to the camera to the rink to the right from this angle is still John Bjornsson, Michael Riley duking it out.
Oh, okay. Oh, where are we?
Because we're right here, so we're
Oh, you just got the one up.
looking at the other angle right now, so it's the camera down there.
Yeah.
that's,
Okay. Pull the fast one on me.
Just seeing if you're awake, that's all.
Obviously not.
So trial bowls are starting here on that rink 6 for the women.
I'm not sure what their records are. I think Linda lost her last one. And
Well, let's take a look here for the women.
Jenny lost.
Linda's
Jenny-
1 and 2,
Jenny
and
beat-
Jenny's 2 and 1. So
Yeah.
last game there, Jenny lost to Rainbow Lung in straight sets,
Yeah.
and last game Linda lost to Betty in a tiebreak.
Wow.
So Pauline picked up a couple there to make it 2-1 to take the lead.
Yeah. She's fighting back.
I can see that she's playing with the mat a little bit. The mat's up a fair pace. And her first bowl is just trickling into the ditch, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gone.
didn't quite adjust for the mat change, but I think that's a good strategy, though, to
Yeah,
try
to
the
change
mat.
it. Yeah.
After losing the first set, you want to get something going, change things up, find your groove, find your distance. So I think that was a smart play to bring it up.
I find it hilarious sometimes when you get into a match where for instance, your opponent likes tee to tee long,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So you finally get the mat, and you roll a short jack, and you lose the mat, and it goes back and forth like that. Eh? You're sort of getting 1 point off each other's sort of mat length. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, here's a good adjustment from Pauline.
Oh yeah, lovely.
That's a much better bowl.
Tuck it right in behind them.
Right
Jack.
behind. Oh, that's a beautiful bowl.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's super important that can never be overstated enough, is the value of your first bowl. If you can put pressure on with your first bowl, it makes the rest of the end that much easier. And so
Yeah.
even though Pauline's first bowl was in the ditch there, Betty was far enough away that she can put pressure on with her second one. So the rest of this end here is just, I don't want to say a breeze for Pauline, but it makes life that much easier when you have one close enough like that. You don't have to worry about getting
Mhm.
shot itself. You just have to worry about getting a good second. You already have position covered. You don't really need to worry about the tee, so just getting a good second in there.
Yeah.
Not a mile away on this one, just a little bit quicker, I think.
Yes.
Prove me wrong, that's just about the same. I will never be able to judge those arrow bowls that have the 2 colors.
Yeah, they're difficult. The only thing I noticed is one, like, hers have sort of the stripe thing that goes across the bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What I found interesting is it's a really good indication of the speed of the bowl, because you can see every revolution, and the bowl will go out. And I mean, it's nothing, I guess, different from any other bowl, but you can sort of, it's a visual for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does make it easier to tell when it's slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
As I don't know how clearly you'll be able to see this, but each revolution you can see more and more of the pink and the purple. And
Yeah.
this is a beautiful bowl here from
Oh, it
Pauline.
is.
Wow.
Oh. Got a little unlucky, maybe.
I think she probably would have wanted to be just a little bit narrower to slice it a little bit further to the left and try to pick up 3 here. I think she's only lying 2 right now, but
Yeah.
still a really good bowl.
Yeah, it was. Weight-wise, just excellent.
And that was her last, so Betty has 1 bullet left here, so I would have to think that Betty's going to come down here with a little bit more than draw weight here. Maybe roll over Pauline a few shots, a few rolls there.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would probably be trying to do, is just push Pauline through. Any jack movement is good.
Yeah.
Don't really have too much to lose here. You're already down 2. I don't think you're going to be so narrow that you'll kick your own out, so you don't really have to worry about that.
She's got lots of bowls to kind of land on, too.
Yeah, exactly. She can land on any of Pauline's here. Every angle here is relatively good, so...
So if anything, she wants to be just a touch heavy, eh?
Yeah. Absolutely no reason to be short here. If anything, you want to be heavy. And she's playing the other hand from the looks of things. This is an interesting tactic. I would not have been the one
lots of
doing
weight.
this. Playing weight on this hand. That's interesting, because now you have danger of picking your own. Which
Like that.
she did.
Yeah.
So now you're down 3.
Yeah.
Interesting. It must have looked different from the mat.
Mm-hmm.
Must have looked different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, that can sometimes, you get at the head, you take a look at it, and you start walking back, and you go,
Mm-hmm. How it looks on the mat can sometimes
Yeah.
make a world of difference. That's true. So that should be 3 for Pauline to give her a 5-1 lead. And I think I'm going to be losing my commentator here, as that game
Yeah.
next door is finished up between John Bjornsson and Mike O'Reilly, and I believe John Bjornsson came away with the win.
Yeah. Well, I better sort of make my way over. I don't know if the people that are going to be playing are ready or not, but I will. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, thanks for commentating with me there, David. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at BCB Bowls.
No, I'm not. My voice is.
So Pauline's got the mat up here again, about 3 paces from the tee. Pretty similar distance to what she just played last end. And I think that's a good strategy based off of how it worked. First bowl is a good meter through the head. Much better first bowl than last end. And I think Betty's got a fair bit of mustard on this. I'm not sure if this is going to stop in time. Need to find a friend. Not quite. Just around, hanging on. That bowl is still probably a good mat length from the ditch, so there's actually a fair bit of space there off camera that you're not going to be able to see. I think Pauline's coming up well narrow on this one. That's a well-weighted bowl, just not quite the line. Prove me wrong, that's coming up well short. We'll see if Betty's changed her weight at all. That's a much better adjustment. That's probably shot itself. For all the standings and results, head over to bowlscanada.com. Under the championship tab, you can find the indoor singles. results, standings, draw, it's all there. Looks like Pauline's switching hands here. That's an interesting tactic. Don't know if I would have done that. That's one thing that I find in singles is that sometimes it's better to just find a hand and master it. Definitely nothing in her way on the other hand. She could have stayed with it. There's a position bowl out of this now anyway. Pretty loose head here. I think Betty's through the head here again. Will it stop in time? I don't think that'll be in the count. Maybe. And Pauline's going to stick with her forehand. Don't think she liked it. Very quick to turn around and talk to Betty right out of the hand. So I think that's narrow. In the ballpark. Betty's coming up short on this one. That's a pretty loose head. I think Betty's going to be happy to take one or two out of that. As always, reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at BCB Bowls. On Facebook at BCB Official. Love to hear from you. And now that Betty has the mat back, you can see that she's placing it a little bit closer to the tee as opposed to a few paces up as Pauline was doing. (5-2) after 4 here in the second set. Beautiful opening bowl there from Betty. Really makes a difference when you can have the jack in the mat to find that length. Pauline is well past the jack there. Probably about 8 feet. And that's a pretty good second bowl there from Betty. Left a bit of a gap, so there's a bit of a port for Pauline to go through. And Pauline is definitely here on this one again. Just on the outside. Definitely don't want to make that target any bigger if I'm Betty. She's still sticking with her forehand. I think she might be playing some position here based off of how wide she threw that bowl, but I could be wrong. And that's dying in a hurry. I think she was just looking to draw again. Currently holding 3. It's a huge bowl here for Pauline. This could really make or break this end. If she could just draw a second shot, that's a huge game changer, but I think she's tight coming out of the hand. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to cut Betty down any. Maybe. Betty's last bowl. That's wide and heavy. Not sure if that's going to be in the count. I don't think so. So holding 2 and a look right now. I think it might just be 2. Big shot here for Pauline. She can play a fair bit of weight into that. If you kill and go to the respot, she'd be lying 1. Try to draw it clean or even just cut down to 1. I think at this stage I would probably be tempted to just try to find my draw weight, find my draw line, and try to draw to cut it down to 1. Holding a 5-2 lead right now. I don't need to be too aggressive with this yet. Don't think that's going to do it. Well, it should be another couple here for Betty. And yep, both players have agreed. That's 2 to Betty to make it 5-4 after 5. Big thanks to our sponsors and partners, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, and Kukri, our official clothing supplier. You can see the mat's back where Betty likes it. Bit of a shorter end here this time. As always, to keep up to date on scores and standings, head over to bullscanada.com under the championship tab at the top. You can head to the indoor singles. Standings and results are there. Men have played 5 rounds already. Women are in the midst of their 4th. Big draw across there. Not a bad opening bowl there from Betty. Pauline is also playing her forehand based off of how she's holding the bowl. Going to try to follow Betty down. Just finish inside. Prove me wrong, she switched it over onto her backhand. Ah, that's a great opening bowl there from Pauline. That'll be number 1. Oh, what a shot there from Betty. I believe it's 2 for Betty at the moment down there in the head. Looks like a pretty juicy target from here. I'd be tempted to play with a little bit of weight on the forehand. Jack or bull on the way through. And Pauline is indeed playing her forehand. Quick look back. Gonna chase this one down. Just playing for a draw, not a mile away. Big finish hard. Great effort. Betty's asking if that's shot. Marker's saying no, you're still holding one. Right idea here from Betty. Just needs to roll hers over one to ensure it. Just sliding through. Good effort here again from Pauline. Just a kiss. That should be good for another. Both players are taking a look here. Very close down there. I think it's only going to be one for either player. And I'm joined right now by Charlie Taylor. How you doing, Charlie?
Doing all right, Jake. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad.
A little bit of deja vu.
Yeah, that's right. Weren't we here 2 months ago? Not here, but
pretty close.
In this position, I guess.
I feel a little warmer today than I did then.
Funny how it's a little bit warmer here, I think, than it was in Regina 2 months ago. Both players getting down here to measure. It's currently 5-4 for Pauline Wong over Betty Van Wallingham in this second set. How have you been making out so far in this tournament?
Some good bowls, some bad bowls, and somewhere in between.
Okay, all right. Sounds about pretty average. I think most players could all probably agree to that.
Made a lot of shots, just a couple unfortunate ones going the wrong way when I needed them most.
Mm-hmm.
But as we talked about 2 months ago, we need more of these in Canada. Playing on it once a year is not enough.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how that tends to be what a lot of people say, but yet from my experience, when I've seen people who've competed in this year after year after year, even though they don't necessarily have one of these back home, even just playing in this event by year 3, year 4, they're right up there at the top, even though they only play on it for this event and that's it. So
absolutely. Yeah, give it a couple more years, we'll see where I'm at.
So Betty picked up one there to tie things up at 5. So do you have any inside tricks, tips, secrets for staying loose, staying ready to go? Because there's fairly lengthy delay between rounds, especially for the men, because you play one and then the women play and then you play, women play and you play. And you're playing 3 games a day, but there can sometimes be close to a 2-hour gap between games.
The right way that I've found is I've gone for some walks and and kind of done stuff like that. The wrong way is going and eating a grilled cheese sandwich and a chocolate croissant. So we'll see how sluggish I feel after this next one. But yeah, no, beautiful park surrounding this area. So and with the weather being the way it has been since we got here, going out and having a walk and stretching, it's been not too bad to stay loose.
And Pauline is looking to find a friend. Just got the outside rub to push Betty in even closer. That's definitely an unfortunate result. What was a semi-loose opening bowl, you know, plenty of space to draw into now. Within a mat length, just made things a lot tougher, but
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the adjustment from a short jack to a long jack in here.
I had the good fortune of playing in a district singles playdown this year in September. In Ontario, you have to win your district before you can get to provincials, but the club that it was played at up in Ottawa, instead of just 120 feet long, it was, I think, 128 feet long,
Nice.
which doesn't really sound like much, but man, does it make a difference having that extra 8 feet when you're playing tee to tee, because you're coming up 8 feet short every time just because you're thinking, you know, 120 feet. But man, was it such a drastic difference for something that appears to be so small.
We have Mayfair in Saskatoon. I think it's 113. So you go and you think you're tee to tee and you're 8 feet the wrong way.
I think strategically that's one of the reasons why I always play minimum length, because no matter where you play, it's always the same. Whereas if you try to play tee to tee, depending on what club you're at, that's going to be drastically different. Whether it's 113 feet, 120, 128, like whatever it is, tee to tee can be so different. But min length is always min length. You always know what that is. That's the same everywhere.
Yeah, looking tee to tee here compared to a min length, it's unbelievable.
This is a very interesting head here right now. Betty has a chance to pick up a 4 here from the looks of things. Will she stop in time, or was she going for Pauline's back bowl? I think she might have been going for that bowl to try to knock it in.
I think so. Good stays, good spot though.
Yeah, not a bad spot. Don't know if that'll be in the count. I'm gonna try to get rid of the scoreboard here just so you can actually see what we see. You see one bowl up on the bank. Pauline's back bowl is just not quite in the ditch, and Betty has one that you can't quite see. It's just on the other side of Pauline's up on the bank there. You can only just see the edge of it. Of course, both of marker and player standing right in front of the camera, so you can't see anything anymore.
Slightly different angles, eh?
Doesn't matter where I put the camera, there's always people in front of it. I will say it's better than the 4s in Regina, but either way, still frustrating. So big shot here for Pauline to try to keep herself in the game and cut Betty down.
The line looks good.
I was going to say, how's the weight though? My gut was going to tell me that's light, but it's still trucking. Still trucking. Don't know if that's going to be good enough to do much.
Down to 1.
That was second shot. Wow. Bit of a Hail Mary saving grace.
And you can see it on her face. She loves it.
I would too. I would too. Are you next? Yep, go to bullscanner.com. I'm on the home page.
Qui est sur le home page.
Just click that.
Puis en haut, à gauche, ça dit Sports Canada TV. Ah, on va
playing end number 8 here. 6-5 for Betty. Betty did win the first set, so if she picks up a point here, that really gets her off to the races.
It looks like you, if you're doing the game here tomorrow afternoon, you are in for a barn burner.
I'm guessing you're on the TV rink here tomorrow afternoon?
Battle of Saskatchewan. And I promised Doug and everybody that was at my steak night that I would beat Doug when we got here, so...
Yeah, for those of you who are tuning in, the cameras here are set up on Rink 5, so that's what we'll be streaming throughout the rest of the week. Not entirely sure if I'll be doing every single game from here on out, unlikely, but you can count on us for 9 a.m. local time. You know, it's interesting that there aren't the full 12 women here. There's only 10, and the fact that many provinces got to send 2 or more to this event, just because this is a sort of a marquee event where if you are really that competitive bowler, this is your chance to go and represent Canada, play internationally, play on a really good surface, play the best of the best. Speaking from experience, if I were still actively playing, I would have to think that would be gunning for this, because your odds of success, the odds of getting here, your odds of, you know, representing Canada are pretty high, just because there's only 11 other people at most. And the fact that you get to play 11 games is a pretty good chance to actually prove that you're best of the best. You're not going to really get screwed over by the draw, or only, you know, one bad loss doesn't really take you out of contention. So
the format is great, playing everybody once, and you're right. You know, when I lost my provincial game by 1 in a tie break, it was waiting by the computer, waiting for your email to say yes, you get a second slot.
yeah, the roll down is never fun. It's the most dreaded part of my job, is having to implement that, because no matter what, it takes provinces forever to find out if they can actually send that second player, and then if they do say no, I go on to the next province, and if they say no, on to the next, and it just takes forever in a day, and too much room for error, or someone coming back saying, hey, actually on second thought I will go, which, you know, that's, sorry, tough luck, but not fun to do.
That guy from Saskatchewan didn't take too long this year.
Yeah, I'd have to say that you were probably one of the quickest ones to say, yep, done, sign me up, book my ticket.
I had your email by 10 o'clock. By 2 o'clock, my steak night was booked.
Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of players say, is that, you know, it's expensive to get out to BC, but you had a steak night fundraiser, which is, I think, a great idea that almost everybody could probably implement, in, no matter what province you're in, to just, you know.
It was a blast. We had 85 people there. I had 10, 12 from one club and a pile from the other, people from work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, silent auction, everything like that. It was absolutely cool. And I mean, Doug Prop, who beat me, he was here. He came up to me after and said, "Why didn't you thank me in your speeches? Having a party like this is kind of awesome." And it was. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to do that every year, and but to get to be with all the people there and see the support that the clubs have for their players,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's definitely an overwhelming feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I can't not say their names, the Mayfair and New Tanalon Bowling Clubs. Hello to everybody out there from those clubs that are watching. Thank you for getting me here.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, one of the biggest complaints that bowlers have is that, you know, their trips aren't fully funded and that they have to pay their own way, but, you know, you can take matters into your own hands and, you know, raise funds and get it done yourself. You don't have to just complain about how your provincial organization isn't funding you enough. You can actually go out and do something, which is why I'm a huge fan of what you did, is that you actually, you know, you went out and did something about it, which is, I think, really, really cool, and more people should follow your lead on that.
It was fun. We put the steak night together in 3 weeks. I have to thank my girlfriend Tasha for all her help because all through it I was working 11, 12-hour days and all that kind of stuff. So was relying on her. But yeah, it's one of those things that you can take the matters into your own hands and just enjoy doing it. And that's kind of the part that I wasn't sure about that I took away was, yes, I was getting to come and I knew I'd have a good time here, but the time we had at the steak night and just interacting with people and the stuff that we did there was just, it makes it worth it. Well, the ladies have head umpire George Cubis working.
Yeah, George is being put to work here. Huge thanks to George and his crew of umpires. He's been a real trooper this year between majors in Regina, mixed pairs out at Qualicum, and the indoors here. He's been out and about doing just about everything, and always with a smile on his face, always doing a fantastic job. So huge thanks to George, and huge thanks to the rest of the umpires as well, and all the markers too. I'm told that all the markers here, rotating shifts, and been doing a good job.
Absolutely. It's the crew. You can 2 years in a row I can say that they've been absolutely awesome.
So leading up to this event, if your club was still open back home in mid-October, would you have just been practicing minimum length short jacks to try to get used to the pacer?
Yeah, my last practice game was I took our young phenom Lo Wong out, and we were playing. I was just ditch in or hog line into the ditch, and I said to him when we started, I said, I hope you're not expecting anything long, and please don't throw anything long. Yeah. It's we gotta play some short stuff here.
Lowe is what, 12 years old?
12 years old.
Something like that. So he's a young up-and-comer.
Be scary to see what he's like in 5 years.
Big thanks to our comms guy, Matt, for keeping us active on Twitter with awesome gifs. And so Betty came away on the good end of the measure on that to make it 7-5 in the second set. Figuring things out here with the draw. Playing the last end here, and Betty has a 2-point lead, so that means that Pauline needs to score 3. 2 isn't going to cut it because you can't tie the set when you've already lost the first one. You got to win. So
Betty with a great bowl to shrink the scoring area with her first one.
Pretty good answer there from Pauline, just matching her bowl for bowl, but it's tricky when you need to score 3. That means you can only have 1 that's not counting. That's tough to do. It still baffles my mind watching how wide these bowls are coming back in compared to all the bowls that I've watched at, Regina between major singles and last year at Nova Scotia and Victoria and whatnot. Just to see such a wide draw is
Yeah, it's for me. I made the change last year when I was out here. I played the Dreamlines.
Mm-hmm.
This year I'm playing the Drake's Professionals, and big time difference. And but it's nice having that big finish to a bowl in here,
Mm-hmm.
except for when you pinch it a couple inches narrow.
There was, I'm not sure if you're part of that Facebook group Talking Bowls in Canada, but Mike Spatafora posted a video, or like 4 videos a few days back of, I want to say it was like the 1992 World Championships or something like that, and between I think England and New Zealand or something like that. But back then, the bowls that they used for how wide the draws were was just absolutely unbelievable for taking 7 rinks of grass and shooting 180 degrees across the head. It was a whole different game, and I can say that when I was playing in my district singles playdowns, the guy I played against in the final had bowls like that, and I found it so frustrating to watch his bowl shoot across the head like that, because if he's light, he's only, 6 inches to the left, and if he's heavy, 6 inches to the right, but still jack high either way, which just befuddles my mind. So it messed with my head, that game. I ended up coming out on the winning side of it, but it was just something where I had to turn around and not watch his bowls, because it was just really messing with me, having never played against such massively wide bowls before.
I couldn't play the ones that I like to play. I'm a hand slate classic guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing them in here, I would have absolutely zero control.
Yeah, there is such a thing as too wide, especially if you're on a outside rink, of which there's 4 of them here, 1, 3, 4, and 6. If there's an off-center jack, well, you're down to one hand. You can't play that other hand anymore.
No.
Oh, looks like a really good bowl there from Betty. Got a toucher out of it, although you can't quite see his Pauline straight in front of the camera. There you go. So now this is
Absolute dagger.
tricky, although not impossible. If she plays crazy weight on her short bowl there, that's sort of close to the middle, you could maybe get a triple out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can play that kind of weight, but outside edge of hers onto Betty's toucher. I think it is possible to get a 3 edge. I don't know if she can throw that kind of weight.
Yeah, need the big.
You need
big
big
guns.
weight. That's why that first set is so crucial. If you can win, that means you only need to get a tie in the second set. You don't need to win the second set. She's playing with some weight. She's in the ballpark of getting Betty's.
Oh.
Good effort. That will be at least 1, maybe 2 to Betty. Plus minus up to you, but that does give Betty the win in straight sets. Well, thanks for commentating with me, Charlie. I'm going to take a 10-minute break while we get ready for that next round.
Sounds good. So I should go get ready too.